Man, I can't believe I'm swapping out my iPhone for a Samsung. I'm bringing on a Samsung into my Apple ecosystem. I've had Apple forever. Oh, my friends are not going to like the green bubbles at all. This is gonna be so weird. And also, I started a new job, so hopefully I don't miss any meetings or important emails getting used to this UI. Oh man, this is gonna be so interesting adding this to my Apple ecosystem, but yeah. Okay, you guys really liked my Samsung switcheroo videos from the iPhone. I think the last Samsung video I made, y'all took it to over 100,000 views in under a year, which is wild. So I thought I would make a whole 1-year update on what it's been like switching, oh my gosh, switching over to the Samsung from iPhone and, you know, mixing it into my Apple ecosystem, mixing it into my whole tech world because I'm very used to Apple. I was never much of a Samsung person, but it definitely caught my attention in the last few years, especially with the Galaxy lines. I think they've done such an amazing job with so many jam-packed features in the Ultra lines. So in this video, I'll go over what it was like initially transferring over to Samsung. Was it easy? Was it hard? What it was like in my Apple ecosystem? And also, do I miss Apple or am I gonna stick with Samsung? So we're gonna dive into all of it, so let's get into it. When it came to transferring files from the iPhone to the Samsung, it was really easy. All I needed was a USB-C to C charger. At the time, I had the 12 Pro, so I used a Thunderbolt to C charger. And so when I was transferring it, it took about a total of 45 minutes. And I had to say, it was really quick and easy. And to my surprise, a majority of my files got transferred over. I would say if you have anything in a native Apple app, like Notes, those won't transfer over because with Samsung, you log into your Gmail account, and so a lot of your files on Gmail will transfer over, but Apple won't really transfer over. And so that's one of the manual things I had to do, was go back into my iPhone, look for the old passwords that I saved in the cloud, transfer it over to my Samsung and get all that set up. But if you are, you know, natively living in Gmail, oh my God, the transfer is seamless and it just brings it over beautifully. I was just really surprised at how well and efficient it was. So I don't know why I have so much trust in my Samsung, because I like rocking it with no case. My boyfriend thinks I'm crazy and he's definitely seen me drop it a few times, but honestly, looking at it, it's held up so well this past year and I'm really impressed because I travel to a lot of countries and cities and I've definitely dropped it here and there, but it still looks nearly brand new. Now, when it comes to the design, I'm not the biggest fan of how boxy it looks. I do prefer a rounded edge like the iPhone has, so that's kind of my favorite design when it comes to phones. But because it is boxy, if I add a case to it, it just makes it look even more boxy and a little bit more heavy. Because it's made out of aluminum sides, it doesn't make the phone feel heavy at all, but it still feels really premium. Plus, I genuinely love the titanium gray they created. It's such a nice premium color. Now, adding on to the design, I think they nailed it when it came to the screen. So we have a 6.8-inch screen and it has such an underrated feature. It has an anti-glare screen and I genuinely love it so much. I went to LA, Malibu, and like New Zealand, and it was such a treat traveling with this phone because with the glares and all the suns, it doesn't really affect the screen because of the anti-glare screen. And so it's so nice pulling it out, not having to worry about glares or looking at my phone when I'm outside. On that note, it has 2,600 nits of brightness, so even then, it's already like outperforming a lot of phones out there. And so with the iPhone, when I was traveling with it, I found that there is a lot of glare issues a few times because I believe it's only 1,000 nits or 1,600 nits. I'll put the correct number on the screen. But I do find Samsung really nailed it with the screen. Also, I love the fact that there is very thin bezels, no notch, just a little camera. So when you're watching videos, going on social media, it's just such a treat because you don't have that dynamic island blocking the top part of your phone. So my main camera is my M50, but when I'm traveling or on the go, I don't always pack it with me. And especially when I was in LA, I was working my 9 to 5, so I was working Pacific hour, so I was working at 6 to 2. And then after, I would go out with my family till midnight. And a lot of times I forgot forgot to bring my M50. I forgot to charge my batteries. It was such a go trip because we fit in Malibu and Vegas as well. So because the camera on the Samsung is so impressive, it can film up to 8K with really great resolution and stabilization. A lot of my footage from that trip was all on my Samsung. I have a video up if you're interested in it. It should be out already. But yeah, the Samsung was my main driver during that trip, and I put so much trust into this camera to get good footage, get good lighting, and it performed so well. I generally think that the footage on my Samsung is closer to my M50 than my iPhone is. The iPhone has more of a faded light look, so I had to amp up the saturation a little bit. But the Samsung captures colors so well. I feel like it's like as if I had LASIK eye surgery, where everything's more saturated. That's what I would describe the Samsung videos. And to say that like the stabilization is quite impressive is an understatement, because my sister has a gimbal. I did not even bring a gimbal. I was just all over the place. I was just straight walking, holding my phone with no tripod, walking around. And you can barely tell that, you know, I didn't even have a stabilizer, and I barely have to use any effects to smooth out my footage. Because there are other times when I hold phones, like you can really feel my hand shaking, my footsteps, and the footage just makes you feel a little nauseated. I did not get that at all with the Samsung footage, and I either record in 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second. Remember when I touched on the telephoto lens or zoom on the camera? Well, it is so clutch when you go to concerts. Guys, I went to a Dom Dollar concert and we were way back and I could barely see him, but with the zoom, I got up so close. I even got to see his outfit. He wore denim on denim. We love a cultured man. And so I genuinely was just so happy that I had the Samsung for those moments, because I don't think the iPhone would be able to get that close compared to the Samsung. And so the videos at nighttime, again, turned out really great. You don't need that much lighting to still capture the moment. And that's why I put so much trust into the Samsung capturing videos and photos for me. Now, when it comes to having Samsung photos uploaded to social media apps, the quality might not always transfer the way it is in the phone. I found a loophole, but I do want to go over this myth of saying Samsung photos are not good quality when you see it on apps like Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook. And that's because a lot of apps are geared towards iOS or Apple than Android and Samsung's. So because it's more favorable to iOS, those photos and videos always look really good quality. But with Samsung, when you transfer it right when you're creating content through the apps, it won't always transfer in quality. So what my loophole is I transfer all of my Samsung content onto my laptop, edit it all there, export it at the highest quality. And because it's exported through Adobe, it will transfer to the iPhone or the apps really well. So that is how I'm able to upkeep the look of the Samsung photos without losing any quality when I, directly upload it through the app on the phone. Hands down, the Snapdragon 888 is one of the most impressive chips on the market because one, it's geared towards gaming, and so it's going to be able to process a majority of apps seamlessly. When my boyfriend was using my Samsung playing games like Genshin Impact or Monster Hunter, and having that up running with other apps, with social media, with his fantasy league, he was able to go in and out of apps seamlessly. And he's saying with other phones, a lot of times when you log out of a game and go back in, you won't be able to jump right into the game. The game will have to reload as if you closed it. But with Samsung, the Snapdragon 8 chip, you'll be able to go in and out seamlessly and go right back into gaming. And because of this, he's so impressed that it doesn't overheat, it doesn't warm up, and it can process his games really well. I've been letting him using it because I have my iPhone and just testing that out, and he fell in love with it, and he's very big on efficiency and just keeping the game flowing, and the Samsung is able to allow that. So if you're not gaming, just going through social media, going through your apps, it works so seamlessly. I've never really had an issue with lag or troubleshooting any apps or any glitches. Also, Samsung has upped their software updates, so it used to be about 4 to 5 years max, but now they upped it to about 7 years of software updates, and so that means you'll get more for your money with the Samsung Galaxy line. With 5,000 mAh battery, I find this phone so reliable when I'm juggling 2 jobs. I'm also using it as a content creation, and also my boyfriend plays games on it. With that being said, I can count on my hand how many times I had to charge it more than twice or even 3 times a day. I rarely even had to go charge it 3 times a day, and it's such a reliable phone when your life is really busy. You don't always have the time to charge a battery pack or bring one. I get the idea of having one, but it's so tedious to bring one or even having to remember to charge it. So it's so nice that the Samsung can really keep up with my life. When I was in LA, I was working my 9 to 5, but I was working Pacific Eastern time, so I would be up at 6 a.m., work till 2 p.m., go out with my family till midnight, and my phone lasted throughout the entire day, juggling both of my jobs, juggling content creation, and just keeping up with my lifestyle. And because of that, I was so thoroughly impressed that by the end of the day, I would still have 10 to 20% left of battery, and it was enough to scroll in bed and then put away to charge for the next morning. And with that being said, I also find that it's so fast when it comes to charging as well. It can go from 0 to 100% in under an hour, and I find with the iPhone, it takes longer than an hour. Since the iPhone USB-C is an older generation, it will not be as fast as the Samsung one. Another caveat that I freaking love about it, it will tell you how long it will take to charge to 100%. So that way you know while you're getting ready, you're like, okay, what percentage can I get while I'm getting ready, and not really worry too much. Now, for the infamous Apple ecosystem, in my roster, I got Apple AirPods, MacBook Pro, and Apple Watch, and I had to swap out my iPhone for the Samsung. So the Apple Watch already a toss, like I can't wear that with the Samsung, but keep in mind, as summer rolls around, I usually don't really wear my Apple Watch, and I was only wearing it to the gym, so I wasn't wearing it that much anyways. But yeah, I can't really wear the Apple Watch with Samsung. But let's talk about how I have the AirPods, the MacBook, and how I transfer files between the Samsung and MacBook. So when it comes to transferring files, I have this Android app, and I just do the classic, get my USB-C to C wire, connect it, and transfer it over. I do have to say Samsung's file system is top tier, because when I'm looking for photos or videos, they have so much detail where it's really easy to find what I need and transfer it over. The transfer time, it takes a little bit longer than AirDrop does. I generally do miss AirDrop though, because as a content creator, I have so much content going back and forth from my phone and laptop. So AirDrop is really clutch, and it's really fast as well. With AirPods, it connects perfectly fine. I do usually have to do it manual, but if I use my AirPods throughout the day a lot, my Samsung will pick it up and automatically connect. Now, I do miss the features Apple gives when it comes to having the Apple ecosystem. For example, the Find My app. I do miss finding my AirPods through that app, triggering a sound, looking for it. And the Find My app used GPS to locate my AirPods. With the Samsung, you don't get any of those features. You'll have to really remember where your AirPods are. And then also looking at the battery, I don't really get to see the battery of the AirPods on my Samsung like I do on my Apple. So I kind of have to guesstimate when I need to charge it. You do get used to it. It's just changing my routine a little bit. And after a few months, I really did get used to the new routine. I didn't miss the Apple ecosystem so much, and it wasn't such a drastic change that I thought. To be honest, I thought I was gonna miss iMessage a lot, but really I didn't miss it that much. A lot of my friends are on Messenger. I message my friends on Instagram, social media. The only people I really regularly message on iMessage is my best friend and my family. But even with my family, we use other apps like Viber or WhatsApp to communicate. I didn't miss iMessage that much. I just miss knowing where my friends are. We all have each other's locations, so I do miss that part. I think I missed the Find My app a lot more than I expected. I cannot stress this enough, but the Samsung genuinely feels like a mini computer, and there's so many features in here that make me miss it so much. And there's some features that I genuinely cannot live without, that I'm really frustrated with iPhone or Apple that they don't have. And so yeah, let's go over my favorite features on the Samsung from an Apple user. The S Pen. Now, I don't really use the S Pen that often, but when it comes to editing, I use it all the time. It is so clutch when you're editing in CapCut with the S Pen because there's so many cuts, so many tools to use where your finger, it just takes a little bit longer, so it makes editing a lot faster. I am in love with all the editing features natively in the photo app. One, you can remove objects and AI will clean it up to make it look like it was never there. Also, I love that they use AI to enhance the photos as well. The alarm feature. I don't know if you're like me, but I have about 3 to 5 alarms in the morning, and sometimes I do turn them off, but I love how Samsung asks, do you want this to be turned on for tomorrow? And it's like, yes, thank you for asking. I didn't think you would ask. It was just so thoughtful. Also with the clock feature in the timer, if you set a timer, Samsung will tell you what time the time will go off. Apple will just give you the timer, and I didn't think I needed that feature so badly, but I just found it so handy knowing what time it would be when my timer came off. It's the little things, guys. Okay. By far, my top 5 features is the fact that Samsung allows you to customize your calendars and have multiple calendars. So you know how I work a 9 to 5, but I also juggle YouTube and other editing projects. And so on iPhone, all of my calendars is in one, and it just looks so juggernaut. Whenever my boyfriend looks at my calendar, he's like, what is going on? With Samsung, you'll be able to have 2 separate calendars. You can have one for work and one for your other work. So I have one for my 9 to 5 and I have the other one for my YouTube. And this is such a lifesaver. It's so nice looking at my YouTube calendar without having to think about my 9 to 5. And vice versa. So I think this has been a game changer. Now we know Samsung is so well known for its customization. All the themes, all at your fingertips. It's all so fun and cute, and I can just change it every month without having to spend hours customizing every widget like I have to do on iPhone. It's always a day when I customize it. With Samsung, they have hundreds of themes for you to choose from, but also I love how you can customize the widgets to be like the whole screen or not. You can customize it to how you like it. Now, one of my most favorite AI features Samsung has is circle to search. This is so handy when I'm looking for inspo for my outfits when I go out with my friends on trips or raves. I'm always on Pinterest and TikTok looking at outfit ideas, and it's so nice that I can just circle to search and Google will show up where I can buy the outfits from a variety of places, so that way I can get the best price possible for the item as well. And I just find this so handy and fun when I'm, finding inspiration for outfits and I don't have to Google like green top with bezels or describe it in Google. I can just easily circle the search and AI will do the work for me. Now, as someone who tests tech all the time, I will be switching back and forth from Apple to iPhone. And now, as I mentioned, I am testing out the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Now, coming back to iPhone, I thought I was gonna miss iPhone more, but I generally do really miss the Samsung because of all the smart features it has jam-packed into the Samsung. And because I figure out my workflow, I figure out my ecosystem, the cons that it had doesn't really affect me. For example, like Samsung photos aren't as good quality as iPhone. I generally believe the Samsung photos turn out better than iPhones because it's so much more saturated and it gives you a lot of color and data for you to play with and work with to edit the photos. Now, not to say I do love a iPhone photo and editing it with as well, but the differences between Samsung and iPhone are so minimal these days, and I find that Samsung really perfected their ecosystem, the features, just making it such a smart phone. So I generally do really miss the Samsung a lot as I'm testing out the iPhone. Maybe I'll make a whole deep dive between the two phones. Let me know if you're interested in that. But overall, I'm glad I made the switch. It wasn't as scary as I thought it was gonna be, like, oh my gosh, Apple ecosystem, I've been Apple Girl forever. It really was not that scary to me. But if you are a diehard iMessenger, if you're a diehard Apple ecosystem, this might be a bigger switch for you than it was for me. But honestly, I think with 1 year, I would definitely go back to Samsung a lot too. So yeah, that was my 1 year update with the Samsung. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. However, that is it for me, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.